I'd like to just recognize some people. I'd like to thank the Monroe County Sheriff's Office for attending the ceremony. At ease, gentlemen. Also, I see our school board member, John Dick, out there. Thanks for joining us. And we also have going to be introducing our speakers in a second, and we also have Councilmember John Bartus joining us. At this time, I'd like to bring up Mayor Louis Gonzalez for some opening remarks.
Good morning. September 11th, 2001, a day of reflection, a day of mourning, a day of appreciation, but most importantly, a day of unity. September 11th, 2001 marks a date in United States history that will forever be engraved in our hearts and in the memories of the American people. The America we know and love today was forever changed on this date. Nearly 3,000 innocent people tragically lost their lives during the event that unfolded during the September 11th terrorist attacks. Furthermore, over 6,000 innocent people were severely injured, both physically and mentally. Among these were beautiful families with children, elderly couples, hardworking businessmen and women, and of course, countless amounts of frontline heroes, police officers, firefighters, EMT teams, security guards, and many other first responders took the ultimate sacrifice, risking their lives knowing that there would be no return in sight, all to save lives of those that they did not even know. These brave, courageous men and women entered burning and collapsing buildings knowing that they would be crushed, giving themselves up, leaving their families behind, all to save the lives of others. Let that sink in, folks. There is absolutely nothing more incredible and heroic than what these men and women did. For that, I give thanks to each and every single frontline worker and first responder, law enforcement officer, for your dedication and service and your commitment to protection of your country. Without each and every one of you, we would not be a functioning society. From the bottom of my heart, I extend my sincerest gratitude to all of you, and we are also blessed to have your service in protection within all of our communities. The event that forever changed America on 9/11, 2001 was horrific and tragic. As they taught us a lot as a country. Through these events, we learned the true meaning of unity. The United States of America came together as one following the attacks. We locked arms as brothers and sisters, offering support to one another, showing love for those that we did not even know. That in itself epitomizes the phrase that we often use, united we stand. Also, these events taught us a lot about sacrifices and heroism. As mentioned before, an immense amount of first responders literally gave their lives to save those that they did not even know. Simply incredible. Put into perspective what these heroes go through on a daily basis that everyday citizens do not have to experience. I would like to finish off by reading a very inspirational quote that has molded my way of thinking in everyday life. The quote is from Miss Sandy Dahl, the wife of Flight 93 pilot Jason Dahl. Said it best when she wrote, "If we learn nothing else from this tragedy, we learn that life is short and there is no time to hate. We do not know when our last day on earth will be. We cannot predict what will happen today, tomorrow, or in a week, or in a year. Live every single day to the fullest. live a clean and free-spirited, love everybody, and most importantly, appreciate the beautiful moments that you have. They will not last forever, but as long as we have them, be blessed and thankful. Again, my sincerest appreciation and thanks to our first responders, not only on September 11th, but every single day of the year. What you do every single day is inspirational and does not go unnoticed. It is because of people like you that we can live a life of happiness and freedom in the United States of America. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless America. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to call up Mr. John Bartus, who is also the first speaker at the first vigil in 2001. Councilman Bartus will be presenting the proclamation this morning.
20 years ago, we were a very young city. And I was asked to speak at our candlelight vigil on Sombrero Beach after the horrific attacks on our country on 9/11. And I was asked to put into words what we were all feeling back then. And the main thing we took out of that was our vow as a people, as a city, as a country, to never forget. Always remember what happened on that day. Always remember the sacrifices that were made by our first responders, our firefighters, our law enforcement personnel, in assisting all the people that were trapped in those buildings, going up those stairs, knowing they would never come down. And so I am very honored to be here today and humbled to be in your presence, because you are the ones who put your lives on the line every day, and that does not go without my sincerest appreciation. This is a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Marathon, our Patriot Day Proclamation, National Day of Service and Remembrance, September 11th, 2021. Whereas people of all ages and walks of life across America and around the world collectively witnessed an event of immense tragedy on September 11, 2001, and whereas the events of that day instantly transformed nearly everyone's lives, some through personal loss, and many others through an unfamiliar sense of individual and national vulnerability, and whereas an unprecedented historic bonding of Americans arose from the collective shock, unifying the country in an outpouring of national spirit, pride, selflessness, generosity, courage, and service of our armed forces, public safety responders, and citizen heroes, and whereas many brave people heroically, tirelessly, and courageously participated in an extraordinarily difficult and dangerous rescue and recovery effort, in some cases voluntarily putting their own well-being at risk, and whereas September 11th will never and should never be just another day in the hearts and minds of all Americans. Whereas September 11, 2021 will be the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks on America, and whereas the President of the United States on September 11, 2009 issued the Patriot Day Proclamation, officially and permanently designated September 11th as a National Day of Service and Remembrance, calling upon all Americans to participate in this observance through moments of silence, the flying of the U.S. flag at half-staff, and particularly performing community service and contributing to charitable activities to honor America through tribute and remembrance. Now, therefore, the City of Marathon's City Council hereby recognizes September 11th as a National Day of Service and Remembrance in the City of Marathon, and calls upon all our citizens and organizations to consider joining in this observance and to engage in activities of tribute, solemn remembrance, and charitable service. September 11, 2021, signed Mayor Luis Gonzalez.
Thank you very much. Thank you. At this time, I would like to call up City Manager George Garrett for a few words.
Good morning. Welcome, all of you. I look out in this crowd, and I think that on only a few occasions in any of our lives we remember what we were doing at a given moment. I know where I was. I'd like to look out at you, and if you were here then, think about where you were. I was waking up to a TV that had been all night and saw the events of September 11, 2001 unfolding on a TV screen. Some of you may not have been here, but the purpose of this day is to remember that day and understand what it meant to all of us then and now. So, we stand here today in honored memory of the women and men who perished in the early hours of this day, September 11, 2001, precisely 20 years ago. 1 week later, Congress dedicated this day as Patriot Day to memorialize the horrific events of this day in posterity. In total, 2,996 people were killed in the 9/11 attacks. They represented the citizens of this and 77 other countries. We are here to remember the tragedies represented by the terrorist attacks made on the World Trade Center in New York and the collapse of both Twin Towers, the terrorist assault on the Pentagon, Washington, D.C., and finally the horrific efforts of the unsuspecting passengers in the crash landing of Flight 93 and the failed attempt of terrorists to destroy one of this country's greatest symbols of freedom, the White House. At the World Trade Center, 2,763 people died after two planes slammed into the Twin Towers. That figure includes 343 firefighters and paramedics, 23 New York City police officers, 37 Port Authority police officers who were struggling at that moment to complete an evacuation of the buildings and save office workers trapped in the higher levels. At the Pentagon, 189 people were killed, including 64 on American Airlines Flight 77, the airliner that struck that building. On Flight 93, 44 people died when the plane crashed into the Pennsylvania countryside. The events of this day have substantially changed this country's understanding of itself and its perception of the world. Equally, for both good and bad, the events of this day have shaped the world's perception of this country. There is, in fact, 20-year history of events stemming from the tragedy of this day some 20 years ago. So, we are here to memorialize the tragedy of this day, loss of life for those who had no choice, and particularly for those that attempted to rescue them and perished in the effort, either directly or indirectly because of health issues stemming from their heroic efforts. Finally, we are here to celebrate our first responders who were present to assist on this day 20 years ago, and we are here to celebrate the continuing efforts of all first responders who on a daily basis may put their lives on the line and are then remembered, thankfully and hopefully, by somebody who simply may have had or may have been removed from a mangled vehicle, been transported to the hospital, or simply may have had a sympathetic and consoling ear from one of you at the scene of an accident. Keep doing what you do as first responders. It is essential and it is appreciated, and we celebrate that day or that today while memorializing the death of so many 20 years past. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here today. We shall not forget. Thank you.
Well, these three individuals basically covered my opening remarks, so I'm not going to repeat a lot of things. What I do want to state, and I know the firefighters cringe when I start ad-libbing, but it'll be okay, guys, all right? Most of you don't know, but we have started a high school program this year, and a lot of actually 3 years, we're in our third year, But as I look out, I do see some young people out there. And the words never forget are very important. These people weren't even born at the time this tragedy occurred. So I just want to do one thing, and then we'll get into the rest of the process. I just want to make note that at 8:46 is when the first plane hit the first tower. Okay. At 9:03, United Airlines 175 strikes the South Tower. 9:37, Flight 77 strikes the Pentagon. 10:03, Flight 93 crashes into Somerset County, Pennsylvania. So there were 4 individual planes that basically assaulted the United States. Okay, and from that came out all the numbers that were given to you with the deaths, the firefighters, the police officers, the Port Authority officers, the civilians. And in my closing remarks, I'm going to go into some other things reference to what has happened in that 20 years. At this point, I'd like to call Father Perez up for the prayer.
It is an honor and a privilege to gather with you as a community to call to mind, to remember, and to honor those that serve us. Let us open with a prayer from Father Michael Judge, a chaplain that died in the towers as he was serving, following the call of love. That's why we are here. We pray together. We hold hands together. We believe together. We love together. We are safe together. And God reigns. Father Michael Judge. Let us pause and call to mind that moment where so much suffering due to hatred, to revenge, to terrorism hit so many families. May the light and peace of God reign with those that pass. And may the peace and awareness of love in those whose memory they relive daily, those closest to those that die, and everyone in the nation, in the world, those of goodwill. And as we gather here in God's temple, we see that everything in creation, especially our hearts, we all partake of the same source of life, the Creator. Call it as you wish. We call it God. In the heart of Christianity, we see sacrificial love, and that is what you do on a daily basis, and that's what we all do in ordinary life. So we honor, we thank you for serving, for keeping us at ease, at peace, safe. Those first responders and police officers, EMTs, firefighters, all in the military. May God continue to bless you, to protect you, and to guide you. And may God bless the United States of America, and that our hearts may be open always, so that we do not react to hatred, that we may act always according to the loving embrace of God that we see through Jesus Christ. I invite you now to end praying together, if you like, with a prayer card that many of us have. When I put on my gear, Lord, please help me be courageous and protective, serving my community. If I should have to risk my life, help me to be brave. Give me wisdom. Give me strength when there are lives to save. Remind me why I chose this work and to fulfill the call. Remind me that you are here with me and watching over all. And when the day is over, Lord, most of all I pray that I'll come home to those I love safely every day. Amen. Thank you.
At this time, I'd also like to welcome another council member, Steve Cook, joined us. Welcome, sir. The fire service today is ever changing, but we are steeped with tradition. One of the traditions that we observe is when a firefighter dies, it is signified by the ringing of the bell. At this time, I'm going to sound the bell for 3 times, signifies the death of the members of the fire service that died on 9/11. Color guard. Color guard. Please return the flags to full staff. As we reflect in our own ways of this incident that occurred 20 years ago, I ask you that you take time to remember the men, women that gave their lives that day and all the military servicemen and women who protect our freedom every day. We also can't forget the men and women who will respond to those in need without hesitation to save a life, police officers, firefighters, and EMS personnel. They are your first line of assistance to make sure you receive the help you need. May the lives remembered, the deeds recognized, and the spirit reawaken the eternal beacons, which reaffirm respect for life, strengthen our resolve and preserve freedom, and inspire the end to hatred, ignorance, and intolerance. These are the words that are part of the mission statement on the National 9/11 Memorial and Museum at the World Trade Center's site in New York. On August 27, 2001, while performing the evacuation at the airport in Kuwait, 13 U.S. military lives were lost by a selfish act. That also included 60 Afghanistans. Over 2,500 U.S. troops have been killed since September 11, 2001. That was in Afghanistan. Over 7,057 U.S. service members have been killed in post-9/11 war operations. I just like you guys to have that number sink in a little bit. On behalf of the City of Marathon, the Mayor, City Council, Mr. George Garrett, our City Manager, myself, we'd like to thank you for coming to this remembrance. And last thing, never forget. Thank you. It is over.